So, hello, my name is Emma Crawford. I'm going into 11th grade at Samo High, where I am heavily involved in the music program. I play oboe in the symphony orchestra and wind ensemble, and flute in the marching band. So, when I heard that music enrollment was going down, I was very concerned. As part of this project, I created a website that includes information about how to choose an instrument and resources for beginning musicians. So, I will be showing that a bit later. Here we have two local educators that will be making short presentations and speaking about all the great benefits and opportunities in music. Feel free to ask questions in the chat box as we go, and we will do our best to answer them at the end. Also, if we could just make sure everybody's muted, that would be great. So, first we have Miss Wu, the Director of Instrumental Music at John Adams Middle School.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. It is nice to see you all and hope everyone is well. This is really exciting and fun. And I want to first of all thank Emma for initiating this project through Girl Scouts, but also it was a lot of fun working with her. I know the Crawford family well, and I miss Emma dearly. She's now at Samo High, but when she was with us at John Adams, she was such a vibrant part of our music program. So we've had a lot of fun this summer, just talking and sharing, thoughts about why music is so important. And so I'm just going to make some very, very brief comments and I have a brief presentation. All of you who are here, you know about the value of music education. But there's some things that I want to share that when I found out about them even surprised me. So I'm going to share my screen. And I know that we may have families who are with us tonight who are not just John Adams families, but also families in the Lincoln pathway or the SMASH pathway. And so tonight we simply wanted to share and remind all of you about how music as a curricular subject and academic subject is very important. Much of what I'm sharing also coincides with the curriculum over at Lincoln and at SMASH with our colleagues who are the directors there as well. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Angela Wu, and I team teach with Sean Garnwriter, and we teach all the bands and the orchestras at John Adams. We're very fortunate to have three different levels of orchestra and three different levels of band. We may have some folks out there tonight who may be coming in as eighth graders for the first time to our instrumental music program. We welcome everybody. Everybody can come on in. Most of you know that we have experiences for our students in large groups as well as small groups, and just a huge, tremendous shout out to the Santa Monica Education Foundation. They sponsor our coaches who come in once a week to work with our students in small groups, sometimes even individual sessions, to work on those individual skill sets, and then we plug everybody in for the large group rehearsals. Okay, it's going to have to be. And then we are a performance-based subject. So we are frequently performing all the time. We're super excited at John Adams for the construction project that is moving very well according to the timetable. But for the last 6 years, we've called Barnum Hall at Samo High our performance home. We've fondly nicknamed it Jamo High. And so there we are. It's just last fall. My gosh, it seems like it was years ago. But that was last fall with our intermediate orchestra and our advanced band. And thanks so much to Mr. McKeown, who you'll hear from later this evening, and all of the folks at Samo High who've been able to accommodate and help us perform while our auditorium is under construction. So, getting to why music is important, there have been a lot of studies over the years about the connection between music and other core academics. So, this is some data from the U.S. Department of Education on more than 25,000 secondary school students who reported consistent high levels of involvement in instrumental music over their middle and high school years. They show significant high levels of mathematics proficiency by grade 12. I think it's because, when you're in music, you are constantly computing and multitasking when you're subdividing your rhythms. I mean, you're talking about fractions. You have to think about proportions when you're talking about a phrase, when you're talking about crescendoing and decrescendoing. You have to anticipate the outcome. So there's a lot of correlation between music and math, and that's been long studied. So wanted to just share that piece with you. Now, this is something that was very surprising to me, and Mr. McKeown, maybe we missed our calling, back in the day, but music majors are the most likely group of college graduates to be admitted to medical school. 66% of music majors versus 44% of biochemistry majors. Again, I think it's that multitasking. When you're playing an instrument, when you're singing, when you're reading music, you have to listen and make a judgment and change and receive feedback visually from a conductor. There's so much that's going on at the same time. And you have to, learn to work together as a team. You develop, bedside manner. You have to know how to talk to people respectfully. So there's a lot of skills involved with that are in common with, musicians and young doctors. A study of 7,500 university students revealed that music majors, again, scored the highest reading scores among all majors, including English, biology, chemistry, and math. So music literacy, when we're reading our music notes, it is like another language. We have to decipher all the symbols. We have to be responsible to the composer. We are obligated to making sure that the intention of the composer comes through the music. So, how we interpret all of the symbols and the notes is really important. So, continuing, this is something that in my 28 years in the classroom, I can firsthand attest to about arts involvement teaching life skills to our students. And some of those life skills include problem solving and decision making, building self-confidence and self-discipline, developing the ability to imagine what might be and to accept responsibility for it, to develop teamwork, and to develop, informed perception and articulating a vision. I think it's critical more than ever that we continue to foster creativity and imagination in our young people. We are craving, for that human connection right now as we are communicating through online platforms. And so there's a lot of skills in music that will continue to build even as we're distancing. Because they are critical skills that everyone needs for life. And then, of course, music is the only subject matter that provides a collaborative artistic experience by celebrating the diverse and multifaceted backgrounds of individual musicians. We welcome everyone, as I said. It doesn't matter what the proficiency level or the background level is, where folks come from, what the first language is. It doesn't matter. Music takes everybody and creates this beautiful aesthetic, artistic experience. No other subject can claim that. Music also enhances the innate desire for humans to make connections with one another. And I have to say that, since March 17th, which is when we, all went into shutdown mode, I've been vacillating back and forth as a teacher and as a music teacher about things that can't be replicated digitally on screen, like being together and making music and having that artistic experience. But on the other hand, I'm really optimistic and up for the challenge about what's yet to come and things that we might invent And, you know, when I first started teaching, we didn't have the ability to wirelessly, you know, show the music on the screen above our heads, which is, you know, part of our daily rehearsal now. We didn't even think in those dimensions. And so I think that the silver lining in all of this is there will be some imaginative, creative entity or phenomenon that I think will come out of all of this, and we just have to kind of persevere. But I just feel so blessed to be able to teach music. Just a couple of faces in our program. This is Samantha, who just finished her 6th grade year. She came to us from Will Rogers, where she played flute and switched over to tuba and absolutely fell in love. I know, Mr. McKeown, you can't have her yet. She's still with us for 2 years. So that's Sam. This is Max Friedman, who I think just finished his freshman year. Um, a fabulous clarinetist, musician. Miss him so much, but he came to us from John Muir Elementary. This is Jordan Doctor, who went to Grant, went to JAMS, went to Samo High, and is starting her senior year at MIT. I know. And I believe she's an engineer major. Never took an engineering course while she was in the district. She was always in orchestra and took all the honors classes available to her. She is in the MIT orchestra while she's taking all of those amazing engineering classes. So she's finishing up her time at MIT. And then this is Carlos Bustos, who went to Edison, went to JAMS, went to SAMO, and just graduated from Stanford. A fine viola player, and I think he has a degree in marketing. I could be wrong, but not music, but he stayed active, you know, all through his college years. And so all of these folks and so many others take music with them when they leave SAMO and when they leave the district, and music still, you know, is embraced as a part of their life. And then this is just a quote that, you know, really resonates with all of us, and it's from a very, very short video from First Lady Michelle Obama, that the arts are a necessity. She talks about how arts, this is the fun stuff, you know, about school. And I just, you know, want us to keep that in the back of our minds, or in the front of our minds, actually. For those of you who are in the, well, you're at JAMS, you would know, you know, obviously what goes on with us. But everything that I shared with you tonight actually can be seen on the JAMS website. And if you click up here on the Y Music link, there's a little expanded presentation of what I shared with you. And there's some things that are specific towards incoming 6th graders as well, but feel free to take a look at that. But that's what I have to share, and so I want to now bring it back to our hostess, Emma. So thank you, Emma, very much for letting me participate, and it's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. So now we have Mr. McKeown, who's the director of bands at Santa Monica High School, and he also has a lot of other job titles.
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. It's always fun. It's always a challenge to follow Miss Wu. I think the world of Angela, and I know I'm not a PowerPoint person, and so what I can do to follow this up is kind of give you an idea of what Santa Monica High School is like. I would like to start off by just mentioning a couple of things, as Emma was mentioning to you guys. Just a little background on me. I'm Kevin McKeown. I always like to say I'm not the mayor of Santa Monica, so we'll get that out of the way right away. And the next question is, who am I? I'm the band director at Santa Monica High School. This is my 8th year. I'm going into my 8th year there. Before that, I taught 9 years as an elementary school teacher. I taught at every elementary school in the district. I'm really proud of that. I know where every parking spot is around, even out in Point Dume. And before that, when I was in grad school, I had the honor of teaching with Miss Wu at John Adams for a couple of years. And so I'm really entrenched in this school district. and I went on to UCLA. I went to SMC for a couple of years and went to UCLA and stayed there for a while with a couple of degrees. And then I went back to my community. I had a professor that once told me, that you should find a community and make a difference, and that has stuck with me to this day. Professor Nguyen, I just think that was an incredible quote, and I didn't realize at the time that my community was the one that I grew up in. I moved here from Ireland in 1982 and assimilated very quickly at Grant School. Grant School, our hats off to you. And went to Grant School, learned the clarinet, and then went to John Adams and Samuel High. So I've kind of done this odyssey sort of thing where I've kind of just done this loop where I'm teaching where I went to school. And I love sharing that. I'm really proud of the school district. And so now to get a chance to be at the high school in the 8th year here, it's flown by, and that's a testament to the students. So I'll share a little bit about what we offer at the high school. And Emma, you can, if you want to do this like in a podcast sort of way, I feel better if I'm prompted. I'll be honest, but I can share just a little bit about what we have to offer at Samuel High. At the moment, we have 5 levels of concert band, which is phenomenal. We have 2 jazz bands that are taught by Mr. Whaley and Mr. Rollins. And we have a great marching band. One of the things I'm really proud of is this 7 o'clock activity that we all get together and learn how to march and learn how to put a field show on the field at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's one of those things that I'm surprised. I'm not a morning person, and I'm surprised how much I miss that. Out of all the things, I really miss that. And the students who are, I see a lot of students who are in the room right now who also do marching band, and it's just a great combination of that. So we do have some of the finest wind bands in the state of California, and I would share that the experience from our top band. I've got a great picture behind me. This is from our recent tour when we went to Rome a couple of years ago, and we performed throughout Rome and including the San Ignazio Basilica, and talk about a great, it's something that connects Emma, Miss Wu, and I. So it's kind of a nice way to connect all the 3 of us, and that was Emma's first year. And with Brian, 2 freshmen, first year oboists, and they did a phenomenal job. I just kept reminding myself, don't tell them this is hard. Just let them go. And they carried so much. I just can't believe that. If you look back at it, Emma, I don't think you realize just how much you and Brian carried the wind ensemble that year as young oboists. And so we're super proud. So we've had some great opportunities. I know Ms. Wu's taken John Adams to the All-State Conference. We did the same in 2016. And it was an incredible experience to represent the state of California at the state conference, and that was in San Jose. So we've had some really incredible performances. Ms. Wu and I have also performed with the wind ensemble at Carnegie Hall. And so we have a lot of special memories, and those don't happen without the students. I mean, the students are the ones, we don't just go because we want to go. We need to make sure we have students that are buying in to these great experiences. And they have. Every student, every group we've had has risen to the challenge, whether it's Carnegie Hall, Chicago Symphony Hall, Kennedy Center, Washington, D.C. I feel blessed. I've always felt like I'm just part of it. But that's just part of it. The other part of it, you take away all the feathers in the cap. I just miss the students because I miss what they bring. I think the high school, if you're a parent of an 8th grader, I'm a parent of an incoming 9th grader, they are changing by the month. And it's fascinating, it's alarming to see that change. I've seen it through the lens of as a teacher, and haven't been as understanding, and now as a parent, maybe I'm not as understanding either, but I just am recognizing that change. And it's one of the things that I think that we do well at Samuel High, and that is that we give students opportunities to try things. They do make mistakes. They're at an age where they're going to make some mistakes. And I feel like high school is a time where we start to take away some of the training wheels, and we really put those responsibilities on the students to make decisions on their own without having constant feedback. I mean, if they do something wrong, I let them know all the time. But also, if they do something right, I let them know as well. But high school is just an opportunity where we start to think of things differently. We think of ensembleness. We take away chairs. We don't really do seatings at the high school level. Everyone gets a chance to play last chair, as my old mentor used to say. And it gives a chance to students to really decide where they want to put music in their life. And it's something you have to embrace. Like right now, I know my kids like all into music. A year from now, it could be a hobby. It could be something that's just part of it. Maybe robotics, or maybe, something else is something really important to them. But the best part about the band is that we do have a family that the students can pick and choose how much they want to be invested in. Even if they're invested in a middle level band, they still have a rigorous program, and the repertoire that the students are open to, have access to. Our third band out of the five is probably playing music that most top bands don't always play, and we're really proud of the depth of the program. That goes from the long-standing history of our support from parents, our support from, and just the interest of students to do something so old-fashioned. And I think we recognize it right now more than anything. If you ask students what they would like to get out of this experience, I think they would say, I want to meet and play music. It's not, I want to meet and go into do a lab. Tell me if I'm wrong, Emma. But to me, there's something about that connection that the students have, and there's a lot of problem solving. There's a lot of, the friendships change over years, and there's that problem solving that you can't get in remote learning, that hopefully we'll get back to at some point, so that we can show everybody what music offers. Very similar to sports, but so unique and sometimes indescribable. I'm like mixed emotions thinking about it right now. Like I'm thinking of the great times. I'm thinking about just missing how much I miss that. And we'll, like Miss Wu said, we'll find a way to make it important in our students' lives. I think we all kind of, last semester, we were just all kind of thrown at it. And now we've had time to kind of think about it. And I tell you this, I've never seen so many music teachers connect more in the last, how many seminars have we been part of? Ms. Wu, I've seen you in many. We have been constantly not only getting some professional feedback and development, but just community, because you need that community first. If we build that community with our students, even a remote learning experience, they'll be ready to go when we get back to some sense of normalcy. How do I do, Emma?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot to mention it. And I'm wearing my UCLA hat because I'm going to continue on for a second year as the marching band director at UCLA, on top of my responsibilities at SAMO and UC Irvine and Santa Monica College. So it's all going to be remote. I'm going to check my glasses and make sure I've got the right prescription. So here we go.
Thank you. So just a little bit about my experience. I started on piano in first grade, and then as soon as I could play music in fourth grade, I started on flute. So then in sixth grade, I was looking for something a little less competitive and a little more specialized. So I started oboe in my sixth grade year in the John Adams music conversion class. So that was a really great place for a new middle schooler to learn a new instrument in a fun environment while meeting older students and musicians. So I continued to play in 2 ensembles for the rest of middle school. Then in 8th grade, I chose to make oboe my main instrument. So in 9th grade, I auditioned and got into wind ensemble and symphony orchestra. So as Mr. McKeown said, as a freshman, I got the opportunity to travel to Rome, Italy with my band, and that was incredible. So This year, the symphony orchestra was supposed to travel to Amsterdam in Germany. So music has given me so many opportunities, and it just means so much to me. And I have gained so much from the music programs in Santa Monica, so I want to share that with others. So, just a few other things about high school music programs, um, especially marching band. So, when you join marching band as a freshman, you're coming into this ginormous school. Samo High it's huge. It's huge. So when you join marching band, you get to be a part of this group. You have a whole community and a whole support system even before school begins. The same goes for all the band groups and the orchestra groups, all the music groups. You have this support system where you can always go and you have your people. All your people are there. So if you want any more information or fun resources, then you can go to my website at instrumentinvestigation.weebly.com. So I'm going to put that in the chat now. So there it is. And I'll share it. So here's my website. The first page, it has some statistics and some fun things about music and why should we care about music, why music. So that's the first page. Then I have a couple of different pages here where you can explore a few instruments. So if you want to go look at the woodwinds, you can, there's a little explanation of all the instruments, and you can click and you can go hear a recording. So I have that for all the instruments. Then here I have student demonstrations where I collected a bunch of videos from a bunch of people at Samo High, and they all just say a little bit about how to play their instrument, what they like about music, and then they play a little bit of a piece. So then I have some music resources here. So if you want to print staff paper or learn about some music theory. And then I have for parents and about and contact. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, you can send them to me. So that's about all I have. So if there's any questions, please speak up, or you can ask in the chat box and we will do our best to answer them.
I can kick it off from last week. I have told a couple of people about what you talked about last week. One, I told what Angela Wu mentioned about playing a flute in a bag. And I have a friend who is dearly missing her band. And when she heard about playing it in a bag, she went, ew, I don't think so. And then in my book club, they were talking about, one gal was talking about how she's using the COVID quarantine time to learn to play piano. And she said that the hardest thing she's having to do is that after about 3 minutes, she loses her train of thought and she has no idea what was going on. So I told her about the multitasking that you had mentioned last week, Ms. Wu, and the gal who had been a theater director at San Diego State and a professor said, yep, that's the arts. You have to think about many things at once without losing concentration. So thank you for that.
Emma, I just wanted to share, well, actually with everyone, I teach elementary school, and, you know, with budget cuts the way they are, in other districts, not Santa Monica, fortunately, but other school districts, they're always cutting the arts and the physical education programs first, in spite of all the evidence and everything that shows, particularly with music, how much that builds dendrites and children grow and benefit from that. And so I want to applaud you. And of course, the teachers that are here, all of you supporting music programs in the schools is, I can't say enough. Right now I have a colleague of mine who has been taking ukulele lessons via Zoom. She's fortunate enough to have a piano in her classroom, and every morning as her kind of relaxation method, she plays for about 15 minutes before school starts. And it is amazing to see how many kids before the COVID would gather around and kind of, it was like she was doing a concert and she didn't even realize it, because it's such a wonderful motivator. And thank you.
I have to ask, are you related to Caitlin Plukas?
Yes, I am. I'm her mother.
Well, then I remember I was Caitlin's elementary teacher.
Yes.
Yes, those are the connections you make through music, and they don't go away. And that's one of the things I love about our community. It's like, that's, what else do we have that we can have these shared experiences through
Right.
elementary, middle school, high school music.
Dude.
Ah, yes. Oh my gosh.
There she is.
Hi, Emma. Hello.
All right, Caitlin.
Great to see
I'm
you.
back
Oh my
away now.
goodness. And now turning into a bookshelf again.
Yeah, right.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just so happy that Santa Monica has bestowed the gift of music in our public education, because I would not have been able to have my children take lessons. And I feel like there's a certain window of opportunity to learn an instrument, and a lot of that is childhood. And if you don't have that opportunity, it's gone. So kudos to Santa Monica.
And I have to second that. When I did my student teaching many years ago, I did my student teaching at Lincoln Middle School and at Santa Monica High School. And it was my first introduction to what a rigorous music curriculum should be. And all of my personal schooling was in LA Unified. It was sort of a hodgepodge of, music curriculum. So I am so fortunate to be a teacher in a community that understands that music is a part of the basic curriculum. And so I know that with the recent, STEM movement, which is very important with the science, technology, engineering, and math, we need to find a way for the arts to continue to thrive and coexist. Students should not have to choose, one over the other because of a scheduling, infrastructure. There has to be a way where we continue to foster, again, the creativity, the right brain and the left brain. And, I'm such a proponent, as Mr. McKeown is, of the whole child. And it's so critical now, where we're missing that human connection, that human piece. And so, again, until we can come together in a shared space, I know that we in Santa Monica, we're all committed to finding a way to engage the students, to keep them creative. I was just looking through the chat, and I see that Ms. Lewis is here. Hello, it's so great to see you, and asking about, fun apps for practice and arranging music or writing music. There are, we use, as teachers, we use Sibelius, we use Finale when we're composing, when we're arranging music. I'm very excited to share that there's a brand new initiative from some incredible composers. I mean, these are well-known composers out there. If you say Frank Ticheli, if you say Eric Whitacre, if you say Brian Balmages, if you mention Julie Giroux, there's about a dozen composers who came together this spring, sort of like a call to action, knowing that we would not be coming back to school in person. And they said, we need to do something. And so they're composing music with what's called adaptable instrumentation, meaning you could have 3 kids, you can have 13 kids, um, all different instruments. And so they're taking pieces that they've already composed and have adapted them for distance learning and small groups. So there is a movement out there of global musicians, educators, composers. I know that there are some apps that are being developed right now, but these are all to keep the kids engaged in music. We have to just keep them and encourage them, and just hold strong. This too shall pass. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So we just have to keep that optimism.
Mr. McKeown,
Yeah,
Annika Dodd says, would it be possible to have marching band second semester?
I think we have to be ready and be flexible for anything. Um, as you can imagine, when it comes to marching band, we're under some really uh, challenges when it comes not only to LA County. I'm going through the same thing with the UCLA marching band, where the LA County is saying this is what's possible, as in nothing is possible. And from there, I think with time, if we're all getting on the same page, I'm not going to get too into like throwing a mask. People, please put on a mask. Okay, I did it anyway. But at some point, it'll go from this to something. And what Miss Wu is saying is, I think we're all wondering what that'll be, and we will always put student safety first and foremost. And that being said, who knows if it's possible. I personally would be open to whatever it is. If it gets us together, whether or not we're doing some drill, those are all the things that we don't know. But I would be very open to having a band that goes first and second semester. And the short answer is yes. I don't know how would plan to address. Okay, and it says I'm curious how y'all plan to address marching band. It's a great question, Annika. Right now, we are still waiting to find out from the school district what we can do, and that's just the honest answer. I think, and it's not a finger pointing thing, because we are all going through this experience for the first time together. I don't know about you, but it's my first pandemic. So we have to make sure that we're flexible, and we understand that our administrators and our school district, they're having to make some decisions that are really challenging. And I'm sure that we're not that high on a priority right now, because what's more important is, how do we get students fed? How do we get students to a place where they need childcare? How do we get students in a place where they can learn, where there's no risk of getting this disease? So that being said, we have to be ready to go. And if whatever it is, we just got to go. We need students to also be problem solvers, and not say, this isn't, yeah, we know that this isn't this or that, but what is it? And what can we get out of it? And that's going to be the key, especially for first semester, while we're trying to figure out. So I know that's coming from your heart, Annika, when it comes to what you want out of marching band. I love it. And I hope at some point, if we're freezing in January and February, so be it. Okay, we'll just push the horns in. We'll tune to 438.
All right.
I see that Ms. Stewart had asked a question about our special ed community and our students in our music classes. If they can play the music, do they generally get along well with the students in their ensembles in the classroom setting? I have to say yes. There's a very special place in my heart for our music students, who are also students of need. And some of our our most talented students, there is a gift. There's a gift that's hidden and locked away, and they may not be able to articulate with words, but you put an instrument in their hand and you can just really feel that soul and that spirit come out. The challenge, of course, is to make sure that they feel comfortable and safe, and in a large group setting. There are strategies that we've used over the years where we make sure that everyone is respectful and is a part of the community. Again, the problem solving. Sometimes we have students who you know, are a little bit more enthusiastic, and sometimes they're compelled to make some outbursts, you know, and we kind of fold that in. We find a way to fold it in. One of the things that Mr. Garnretter and we do is we try to create an environment where the students know it's respectful, that everyone is well intentioned, that sometimes it's not okay to address a student a certain way, but here's another way that you can. So we do have many special ed students in our program, and we're really proud of them, and all the achievements that they bring, and all the gifts that they bring to us.
Yes, and same at the high school. I feel like when I was an elementary teacher, I felt like we did a better job of being more inclusive at that level. I felt like that was a great time for students to, you know, learn empathy with, you know, for students that things didn't come easy, and I really miss those opportunities to teach, and I have some really fond memories of teaching students at McKinley, especially, and just fond years there. I feel like at the high school, if that is something that's really important to you, obviously the best thing to do is be an advocate for your child, and just make sure that it's expected that it's part of their day, and that would be just a little bit of some advice going into the high school level. I feel like we could probably do a better job of that at the high school level, to be honest. I see a question here from Pacific. Who is Pacific? Is that one of our students by chance? No one wants to. Okay. So the question: the high school will conduct distance learning music in the fall via Zoom. We have to, right? As of right now, if you heard from the Board of Education, there was something about. Do you remember, Ms. Wu, was a special? What was the term? Special population. And I don't know if we would follow under that as something that we would be able to gain access to the campus. Obviously, if we were finding strategies to be safe, I think outside the studies, the research that I was proud to help fund through UCLA, the COVID study on aerosols, where you mentioned the clarinet, the bag clarinet, that's in the beginning stages of a 5-month study. And it was mainly to get something out there because all the really ambitious Texas band directors wanted to get out there and do marching band right away. And everyone was like, whoa, this is crazy. So that's where we're at right now with that. I feel like outside could be a possibility to do something. But when it comes to distance learning, it will be via Zoom. It'll be a combination of asynchronous and more synchronous this semester than last semester. I felt we all need some more structure. I felt the way it was done, and I applaud our district for giving us a set schedule, set times. This is what you're going to do, and we're not going to be fighting with other teachers for that time because you're supposed to be in my class second period. I think just the fact that there will be more accountability for the students. And I know, some students, once they knew that the grades weren't as impacted, and even my best students were like, love you, see you in a few months, and I didn't see them. And I would try my best to kind of find ways to be as creative as possible. But boy, it's a lot more time. It's a lot more prep than I've ever had to do for anything. And it's hard because you don't have those breakout moments where you can tell students, okay, work on this for a little while. And you're constantly on. So we found creative ways to add theory and some music history. I'm gonna have a lot more of a podcast style when it comes to music history. I did it at the uni level, and it was quite fun. And then we need to have some projects. We need to have some things that say, this is what we're gonna have. And with this setting, I think something that's a little bit shorter, not like a concert program. It would be something like, for these 5 weeks, we're going to work on these 4 pieces. You're going to work on improving them. There are going to be other outside things, but your curriculum is going to be kind of like maybe 3 mini sets as opposed to like one big chunk for the semester, just to keep your interest going and not feel like it means nothing. I hope that answered your question, Ms. Wu, if you want to follow up with that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very different than what we experienced because it just, in the spring, it kind of came into our laps all of a sudden. But I'm a part of this summer working group through the district. It's a big committee, Mr. Wang from Lincoln as well. And we're keeping very alert about all the conversations specifically related to music, but of course in general through middle school and high school. And we are looking at best practices, what went well this spring and what did not. And so there will be more student accountability. There will be attendance. There will be grades. And as Mr. McKeown alluded to, we will be having classes meet, by period versus, here's the agenda for the week, go to it, and let us know if you have any questions. So there is going to be a more structured synchronous time. For example, the middle schools are looking at, we haven't finalized anything yet, but if we kept to, at John Adams, our block schedule, Mondays and Wednesdays, period 1 through 5, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 2, 4, 6, it will be a more simple schedule, but there won't be any conflicts, and it'll be fair to the students to make sure that they're in their history class or their science class and there's no conflict with any other class. So there will be accountability for the students. Musically speaking, I can take, the hour block and, maybe the first 10-15 minutes, some direct instruction. Here's our goal, here are our objectives, this is the scale, this is the clapping and counting. One of the things we can't do, on a digital platform is to play together because of the signal latency. However, we can go one at a time. We can go around and do what I lovingly call random performance opportunities. And so while everybody is fingering along, one student could be playing. So I'm already, coming up with some of the strategies, and so I know some of you are shrinking out there thinking, oh no. And then there's opportunities like maybe in breakout rooms where Mr. Garnwriter and I and Mr. Reynolds, our IA, we can have some small sectionals, we can give students a task and, come back in 20 minutes, bring everybody back together. So we are coming up with ways to make it very structured and engaging, but at the same time being very sensitive, not to overwhelm, because we know that every household is different. Not all students have a chair or a desk or someplace quiet where they can be. So we're going to have to be very adaptable and flexible and very empathetic and compassionate. But I can tell you that in our conversations this summer with this committee, things should look pretty different from how they were in the spring. Yes.
Yes.
Chamber music.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I'm a huge fan of chamber grouping. And I think that's part of some of the projects we've been talking about. We did some big ambitious projects in the spring where we took the large group and created a virtual concert. But I think if we put some knowledge and some experience in our kids' hands, they'll be really amazing what they can do. Some of you may know about the app Acapella. Emma, have you dabbled with Acapella?
I haven't used it, but I've definitely seen a lot of projects using it.
Yeah, there's a ton of YouTube videos out there. I think primarily maybe some choir students because it's a little easier, with the interfacing. But Acapella is a great app that I know some of our students have been recording themselves, trios, quartets, quintets, and then putting them all together. So having some kind of virtual chamber experience is definitely in the works.
Which could lead to potential chamber works on campus at some point. I mean, that would be like the hope I'm weird. I picture students in the Greek theater, spread out and a French horn, oboe. We just had a picture, Claire Haygood, Harry had a horn quartet in his backyard, and it was four corners of the backyard. It was so spread apart, but those kids wanted something where they could just connect at some point. But Jim, I know that you'd mentioned something about maybe helping out with some mixing with some recording stuff. That would be really appreciated, because it's not, our skill set is a little bit more traditional. I don't know if I'm going to speak for Miss Wu, but I do band pretty well. I know how to tune a band. I know how to work a band. I know how to get some great sounds out of a marching band. But when it comes to these recordings, I balked at it. I knew right away it was not going to be successful. And the ones that came out, even our own music teacher would say, like, this is not really truly orchestra. This is not. It's just not the same. And it's amazing to see if you really listen with a critical ear, how imperfect it is in those recordings, and it shows you what students are doing without even knowing that they're doing it. There's something that they're doing. I was thinking of like the picture of those two dolphins that are swimming together. It was like something from the 80s, and it said something like teamwork. It was like in every office in like the early 90s. But students are doing that without even knowing it. And not only are they learning how to play in time together through nonverbal communication, but they're also tuning. And it's that just intonation principles we know about, where students will hear and go, I got to check my ego and realize that I'm sharp in this chord, and if I was a root, I would be in tune. But you have to learn those things by being in those environments. So those are the things we can't really replicate, but we can try to find different ways, as Ms. Wu was saying, whether it's small group or maybe individual. This would be a great time for students to get to know their repertoire at the high school when it comes to, and this is where relying on some of our great private teachers in the area to kind of give us some information for students that don't have that access. What are some great, what are great sounds that students can listen to? What is your favorite clarinet player? Who's your favorite saxophonist? Who's your favorite bass saxophonist? Like, there's so many things out there. We have the access. We just have to kind of point the students in those directions and do like the 80% of the things that we never have time to do. Somebody has mentioned the theory, the history. That is kind of going to be really in the foreground for a while, while we're in this setting, and then hopefully we'll get back to some sense of normal. I'm saying that a lot.
Okay, so that is actually all the time we have. So thank you all so much for coming. If you have more questions, you can contact me through the contact page on my website, which I will link again here. One moment. That's it.
Great job, Emma.
Yay, Emma! You did a fantastic job.